and welcome back to Netball Nation for the second part of Series 2. I am reunited once more by the girls themselves, Sarah and Mags. How you girls?
Hello, ladies.
Now, Mags, for anyone that isn't watching this on YouTube, for anyone that's just listening to it, Mags looks absolutely radiant, Mags. Why are you glowing like this?
Maybe a bit of vitamin D from the sunshine. Just glowing a bit.
Sarah, we need to take some tips here, don't we? No offence, Sarah, but you and I, we've just got a sofa as our backdrop. Mags has turned up in a bright orange t-shirt, looking very radiant. Sarah, what have you been doing since the last time we spoke?
Sorry, someone's phone's just going mental here.
Is it yours by any chance?
No, it wasn't mine.
Just proves it's live and this is real.
Yeah. What have I been doing? Not much, just working and that's about it, relaxing.
Any jigsaw puzzles or?
I've not done any jigsaw. Finished my book, so that was exciting because I'm a very slow reader.
How long does it take you, all of lockdown?
Yeah, it's taken me about 2 months, so.
What was it, Sam? What were you reading?
I was reading, it was called Anita and Me by Mira Sayal, you know, the comedian.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I like her. And Mags, have you been doing much baking?
I have actually. I've still done something on a Tuesday, but not done the volume. I've tried to keep the volume down because I've caught myself eating more of it than I was giving away.
Well, there are two very willing participants here.
I've promised you. As soon as we're back together, I have promised you.
Very, very excited. I'm sure if you're listening right now, you'll know that Mags bakes up an absolute storm, some belters. Now then, to kick things off and be back to court ready for when we can finally get back on court, we've got another amazing competition this August, powered by Netball UK and supported by ASICS. We're giving you the chance to win a pair of ASICS brand new netball trainers for you and a pair for a friend. We've 8 pairs to give away of 4 shoes available now at Netball UK. The ASICS Professional FF2, ASICS Super FF, ASICS Academy 8 and ASICS Professional 2 GS Junior. Whew, you try saying that. Every week in August, we'll be featuring one of those shoes on the podcast and telling you why you need a pair. We start with the Professional FF2, 2020's new version of the best-selling netball shoe of all time. It's now available in black, peacoat and exclusive to Netball UK, Arctic Sky. That sounds very nice. Fans of the Professional have been impressed by this cutting-edge upgrade, both aesthetically and utilising the latest technologies. The FF2 is the most lightweight and responsive netball shoe ever produced by ASICS. It's the choice of many top Super League and international netball players, including Manchester Thunder star Caroline O'Hanlon, plus Australian Diamonds captain Caitlin Bassett and her teammates Liz Watson and Caitlin Thwaites. To enter, go to our website and click on the banner on the homepage and you'll be back to court ready with Netball UK and ASICS. Best of luck with that. Now, we are going to cover today how netball is looking in the UK now. With coronavirus restrictions lifting and clubs getting back to training, we're going to be discussing the state of the game in the UK. The ANZ is reaching its conclusion. There was a shock result in the latest round of fixtures and plenty of other talking points for us to get stuck into. But before we get to that, the biggest news in the netball world this week is the return of Australia's Suncorp Super Netball. And to help us go through the first round's games, we've got Australian netball journalist Erin Delahunty.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Australia, where you've had to open your door because at about 9 o'clock at night, it's still warm.
Yeah, look, it is still a little bit warm here. I'm actually quite close to the Queensland border. I normally live about 2,000 kilometres from here, but I'm actually just by happy circumstance, I'm up here on holiday. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that it's a little bit warm. It is obviously the middle of winter.
Whoa. We've got 9 o'clock, door open because it's too warm. I'm on holiday. And can you just tell me what 2,000 kilometres is in old money?
Okay, so that's like from London to Istanbul. That's just that's how I think of it, the distance.
Are you feeling jealous, Mags?
Oh, maybe just a little bit green.
Well, Erin, we won't eat into your holiday time too much. Thank you so much for joining us. How are things down under at the moment?
Well, look, I mean, where I'm from in Victoria, in terms of coronavirus, it's a really scary time, and that's why we've seen Super Netball transfer up to we call it the Sunshine State of Queensland. So here things are very well under control, and obviously the netball has been able to get going this weekend, which is so exciting.
What is obviously you mentioned Victoria there. What is the feeling like in Victoria now that it's just gone back into lockdown?
It's pretty scary when you talk to your friends about lockdown and having to be home by 8 p.m. You cannot leave your home in Melbourne. It's about 5 million people that can't leave their home after 8 p.m. So that's pretty scary. Only being allowed out once a day. The area that I live in, we've been a return to remote learning, only 4 reasons allowed to leave your home. It is quite terrifying in Victoria, and I think a lot of the rest of the country don't probably appreciate that at the moment. But hopefully this 6 weeks, which will end in the middle of September, we'll hopefully be able to knock it on its head.
Yeah, I think we can empathise with that even over here in England. Whilst we're at the time constraints, it's unnerving, isn't it? Anyway, as a rule, just sort of the rules changing and things happening and not knowing what's going to happen with the future. But to Super Netball, which is finally here after the original start date was put back from the start of March. What do you make, Erin, of the competition format and all of the teams being based in Queensland this season?
There's been so much change in such a short amount of time. It's kind of hard to keep your head around it. And the piece I wrote about 4 or 5 days ago for Guardian Australia is just completely out of date. The draw, is changing every day. We still don't have the official draw for this weekend, which is all kinds of crazy. It's hard to wrap your head around. I think having condensed season makes a whole lot of sense. Given what's happened with coronavirus, exactly as you just said, things are changing by the day. And it looked as if they wanted to get through games quickly, but with the change of plan, with the Sydney teams not playing in Sydney anymore and flying into the hub, that means that the draw has had to be rejigged again. So it looks like we're going to go back more into a traditional model where we have those 4 games each weekend. But I would imagine they might try squeezing some more games in as well, just to get through them before anything changes from underneath them.
For you, in your job role, just personally, how difficult is this for you to try and keep on top with and keep everyone informed?
Well, impossible. I don't know. I don't know what kind of job I'm doing at the moment of doing that. I think the difficulty has been, Super Netball as an organisation, I think they've been probably a little bit cautious in not wanting to release information and then be wrong. Whereas I feel like a lot of the fans and certainly a lot of the readers that I talk to, they'd rather be taken on the journey. They'd rather them say, hey, this is what we're planning on. Oh, but you know what? That's changed. We're going to go in a different direction. So there's been a bit of frustration definitely out there amongst people not knowing what is happening. The playing group are exactly the same. The playing group are getting phone calls. People literally had tickets printed out to fly to one location and then were told, no, you're not going there. So it's not as if it's been done in any kind of vindictive way, but it's been a very difficult time for a lot of people. And it speaks to the quality of netball and the people that are involved, that they've just got on with it, right? That's what netball does. We just get on with it.
Erin, can I just ask you, are you within the circle of trust where you get your information from, or are you just picking up scraps as they're thrown out?
Well, if I told you that, Maggie, I'd put myself out of a job.
Like it.
Can you imagine if this happened in a male sport though? I guess for you over there it's like AFL, but for us it'd be like football here. If they were doing this and they were like, actually, it's not going to be Liverpool Man City this week, they're going to go and play Bournemouth instead, everyone would be losing their minds about this.
There'd be a riot.
Yeah.
There were tickets sold for the Sydney games this weekend.
Wow.
And on Thursday that changed. On Friday that changed. The things that are having to be dealt with are absolutely massive. I'm always talking to people, Maggie, to answer your question. I'm always talking to people on the record and off the record, and you tend to find the truth is always somewhere in between. You tend to land there. But I think it's also, I think the sport has a responsibility to try and be, I certainly do, to try and be accurate and give people things that I know to be true, not just speculation, because I think fans do that, and that's absolutely brilliant that they do. But as a journalist, I do like things out there that are very, very much based in fact. Like when I got it confirmed before Netball Australia announced about the Queensland hub. I can't even remember what day that was. Was that 6 months ago? I don't know. I put that out on Twitter because I knew that to be a fact. I wasn't just having a guess.
Excellent.
Certainly don't envy you doing your job right now, Erin, that's for sure. We've got to ask you this because we know that you've got a very strong opinion on it.
Oh, gosh.
Rule. You've got a few thoughts on it. But what did you make of it after seeing it in play for the first time?
Burn it with fire. Shoot it into the sun.
Can you elaborate? Please explain why you want it burning with fire.
I'm just taking a breath. Look, there's so many issues that I have with this rule that I can't even articulate them to you. There's so many things. It changes the fundamental tenement of what our game is. It's the scoring. There is no more basic fundamental to a game than the score. And we have completely rewritten the rules on how that is going to be. The way that it was rolled out at the weekend, I know a lot of people found it very exciting. I didn't. It's fantastic to see long shots. We see long shots all the time. We see Steph Wood put in those kind of goals all of the time. And sorry, just go back a minute. When I say long shots, it's not a long shot.
I was about to say it's a kind of mid-range.
Medium range.
If you're going to call it
is
a super
not,
shot, you kind of need to make it a little bit more super than what they have.
And this is another thing I think a lot of people realised, the bushfire game that we saw in early March and then the Fast Five that a lot of us have seen, the assumption was that that was going to be the distance. It's 50 centimetres deeper than that. So I'm sure, you guys watched on the broadcast and went, because at the bushfire game, it was like a pineapple ring is the way I sort of described it when I wrote it. They kind of sat around the top. For all intents and purposes, it's half of, given you don't shoot under the ring, right? So that 2 foot isn't usable. It's half of the ring. So you're not trying to find the next Maria Folau. You're rewarding mid-range shooters, which is fine. If that's the idea, that's fine. But it's been touted as we're going to bring back this long shot. Isn't it all exciting? Well, I mean, Steph Wood's fantastic and she's brilliant to watch, but she's not Maria Tutaia. Oh my goodness, flashback. Sorry, not Maria Folau. She's not shooting from those longer distances. And then there's all these implications that came from it on the weekend around the way the game is officiated. Let's just let the shooters choose where they take a penalty from, shall we? Like, there's just so many issues around it. I mean, and then but that's before you even say, oh, look, the Australian Diamond captains sat on the bench for 5 minutes the first quarter. Wow, that's going to be great for Australian netball going forward, isn't it? We're going to have players that don't run out of full game at the moment when they go to international level. Oh, and they have to play a different game as well. I mean, how long's your podcast? Like, how long?
Really, you're gonna get me started now because I've never hated a rule change more, like never. But what got me is like when we're talking about the integrity of the game, and you've got Emma Ryde getting the ball under the post and losing the ball trying to pass it out further out, and I'm like, what has the game become? Because you've also then got your defenders for 5 minutes in the quarter do the complete opposite to what's natural to them, and they just leave the person under the post and they go flying out. And I love Fast Five as much as the next person, but I don't want Fast Five every week. I want Fast Five once or twice a year and everyone has a great time, and then we go back to playing normal netball. And I don't know, I might, by the end of the season, maybe I'll be a convert and I'll love it. But I think what's more likely to happen
I can't see that happening.
Well,
I can't see that happening.
I think what's more likely to happen is I'll just stop watching.
Yeah.
Oh, that breaks my heart. Yeah.
Yeah, because it annoys me as well because it's not true shifts in momentum. It's like you score 1 goal, like you score 2 goals basically, and someone's back in the game, and it's like that team's just slogged for 10 minutes to get a 4-goal lead, and like that.
I mean, you have to watching that. I think the Firebirds Lightning game was probably for me the most prominent, where the Firebirds defenders were absolutely dominating. They were well on top of that game, and Firebirds were well in control. I think they were 8 up at quarter time or whatever it might have been. How demoralising as a defender to know that you have dominated and you've turned the ball over, and then a couple of, look, I'm a defender, obviously. I don't want to use bad words, but a couple of arsey shots, and all that work. It's just has completely shifted. And that takes you to the next thing, which is, okay, well, the shooters that can shoot it's fantastic, and those clubs will be rewarded. The clubs haven't had an opportunity to prepare for it. So they haven't recruited for that rule. So you're asking them, you know, so then there's going to be teams that are going to necessarily benefit. I mean, the Thunderbirds is a good example. How different would they be looking if Maria still had the goal attack bib on? But she's not there this season. Maybe she might have hung around for an extra season. Maybe,
well, she
you know,
she could have just got paid, like, I don't know, a ridiculous astronomical sum if she'd hung around this season.
Yeah, or I mean, you don't think, you know, Amelia Anacanasio's phone isn't ringing off the hook at the moment?
There's still
in the last
time for that to
podcast,
happen,
if
isn't there?
she's not getting hit up left, right, and centre, then I don't know who is.
Once the ANZ season finishes, let's see what happens.
It's only a couple of weeks away. And they'll be done well and truly. And they might have the travel bubble up between Australia and New Zealand then. So who knows what might happen. But see, I'm like, my voice is shaking. I've got acid in my guts about it. So much. And the other thing that everyone misses too is that it's a sub-zero game, right? When you look at there's been a lot of analysis done online to say, okay, who would have won if those goals were a point, you know, and 9 times out of 10 you're back in the same position, and the better team overall in the game wins. Crazy concept.
I think what I also don't understand is part of the reasoning behind it was to make the act of scoring more exciting. Now, to me, it's not any more exciting because someone still stops, someone still marks that shot. And then the shot, like we've talked about, it's not coming in from miles away. It's a mid-range shot. So I don't understand what's changed there. It's no more exciting. It's no quicker than it was. You know, no one's going to run into the crowd and take the top off because there's 120 goals in a game. So, like, I don't know what's really changed.
I'll tell you what changed, Sarah, the flow of the game when that 5-minute buzzer was just about to go off, and teams that were, you know, performing quite well, they were bringing the ball through the court beautifully, doing what they do naturally, running their lines, and then all of a sudden the whole dynamic changed and the fundamentals went out of the window. You've got little goal attacks, you know, fair play to some of these youngsters that have been brought into these squads who were having a go and having a crack at it, but it just completely messed with the whole flow of the game. And instead of going for those one-pointers and keeping the scoreline ticking over because they were able to get those one-pointers, they didn't. You mentioned Emma Ryde. You know, Christ almighty, bless her. You know, let's be right. She's not the most flexible and she's not the one that can move around and do those give and goes, but she's trying to do them. And it just messed with the whole flow and the fundamentals of the game. So did I enjoy it? There were the odd moment where it came naturally and they just took it naturally, but 90% of the time it was unnatural and you could see it was unnatural.
Well, we've certainly opened a can of worms there, haven't we, guys? Right. I think that's the podcast.
Sorry, you asked.
Thanks for joining us, Erin.
Hi.
Do you think, Erin, because of the backlash around it, can you see them changing the rule, reversing it?
Look, I'm accused of being cynical when I say this, but by announcing it this year, they've given them what I'm sort of calling COVID cover. So if the ratings are up and things are amazing this season, despite it being really different, Super Netball can say it's the 2-point shot. It's driven all of this interest. It's here to stay. If it doesn't work and numbers are down, well, it's COVID. It's, you know, it's not a normal year. We can't possibly make a decision based off of this. So I think we'll absolutely see it next season, hell or high water, and that relates back to the broadcast deal. So obviously Channel 9, the broadcaster here within Australia, they have the rights until the end of next season. So I think a lot of us sort of quietly thought we might see this next year. So then that might be part of, you know, the negotiations at the moment that are happening about what might happen into the future. But I definitely think we'll see it next year.
Sorry, your face looked a bit shocked then when Erin said that.
Yeah, I am shocked. Just because, like, when you saw the backlash from the players as well, and how upset they were about not being consulted, and then the feeling that it's already a sort of given for next year will be tough to take for teams. Like,
they're too I believe they're too invested in it, Sarah.
Yeah,
and they've spent too much and worked too hard. I mean, you've only got to watch the commentary and listen to the broadcaster. to get that sense that this is something they're really heavily invested in. When you've got, the head of the commission tweeting out wonderful praise of it and things like that as well, it's like there isn't really a debate. I think a lot of the negativity is coming from fans that are, and I'm certainly probably lumped in with those people as kind of rusted on, diehards, traditionalists, whatever it might be. And I know certainly at the time of the announcement that there was encouragement of players to get angry about it. They wanted players out there talking about it. That was part of the PR strategy behind, right? Which is cynical beyond belief, really. But that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to generate it. They wanted the headlines. They wanted people to be talking about it, and they want to get new eyeballs on the game. They're not worried about me or you, Sarah. They're worried about other people coming into the game, and as many other people have suggested, obviously they're looking for a different audience, and different equals male, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be a rocket science to work that out.
Do you think there'll be backlash from players and potentially whoever the Diamonds coach is in this closed season? Do you think that will make a difference, or do you think it's again just going to kind of fuel a fire?
Well, I mean, again, at the risk of being accused of being cynical, it's kind of helpful to them. We don't have a Diamonds coach right now. We don't have Lisa Alexander, on the BBC talking about what an absolute diabolical decision this is and how much it's going to affect going forward. The Diamonds' success. I mean, she talked about that when it was proposed. She was really strong about it. So she was one really loud voice that has been missing from the debate. So I think that again feeds into the idea that, yeah, it's just going to roll over. And this new Diamonds coach that's going to come in is going to have enough to deal with, really, towards the end of this season without worrying about what's happening with the domestic competition.
Do you think that the Diamonds head coach has that bigger voice that could affect any sort of change? Because we've already alluded to the fact that it's just about the commercial element, the fact they didn't consult any players, any teams, that they just rolled it in, through the back door and shut up and put up. Does the Diamonds head coach have any say at all?
I think that person absolutely does. And I think the proof is that we haven't seen this shot until this year. Whether that's a coincidence, there's an argument to be had there. But Lisa Alexander was very vocal, was very out there. She's very well connected in terms of the broader sporting landscape in Australia, not just with Netball Australia, but with funding bodies, with Sports Australia, with a whole bunch of other things that feed into this, and the perception and the PR and the media that she does. So I do think that role, whoever it might be, does have a say in it, and it should. We're the number one netball nation in the world. I'm not sure if you guys know, but we're still number one. Like just check.
Just hold the titles, right?
Can we blur her screen out again?
Number one, but no major titles.
And that is, we are still probably the most well-resourced, the most money, the best league in the world. So that person isn't just a figurehead. They are an important, significant person, and I do think they do have that pull and that level of respect. Who
do you think that person will be?
If you find out, can you tell me? Just
shoot
me a text, and
I will let you know.
Look, I do think it will be a Super Netball coach. I think that Netball Australia has been really clear that they want someone that is in the thrust and parry every week, and not in terms of opposition, but just in terms of picking her team. Sitting on the sidelines and watching week in and week out. I think Amy Parmenter is kind of an example of this, right? How Amy Parmenter did not play for the Diamonds based off of her season last year, and the glimpses we saw of her, to me, is kind of a testament to that. Because I sat there and I watched her, and you're courtside and you see her work off the ball and, all of that sort of stuff. You don't necessarily see that if you're a national coach and you're sitting outside of the system. And we've done that now. We've had that person sitting outside of the system. But how you make that happen, I don't know. How you fit all those pieces into a calendar, I've got no idea. I've been really strong in thinking that Simone McInnes is probably the best choice, the current Dixon's coach. That's just because of I guess a cultural, the cultural thing that she has. She's really big on culture, and she's really big on expectations she has of her players. Not that Alexander wasn't, but I think, you know, she might potentially be someone. The age fits. She's got a couple of the real up-and-coming diamonds in her own team. She probably has the capability to do it, obviously has the capability to do it. But who knows? They might go in a totally different direction.
We shall see. Well, Erin, look, we got you very riled up. We're very aware that it's close to bedtime. We don't want you not sleeping tonight after talking about the Super Shot 2-point rule. So, just one last question before we do let you go. And I'll open this up as well to you, Mags and Sarah. What games were your highlight, and which teams have disappointed you in the opening rounds, Erin?
Look, I'm big on. I think the Sunshine Coast Lightning. If the Sunshine Coast Lightning don't win it this year, I would be shocked. I'm not on my Paddy Malone. They're sitting up on the Sunshine Coast. There's been no disruption to them. They haven't been getting on and off planes. They have only one person who has a child, which is Pumza, who isn't there. So we don't have this disconnect happening with families being separated and children. They also have the best list in the league by any objective measure. They have a really settled list. So I was a little bit nervous in the first half of that game, certainly, but it really was just a case, you could just kind of see them clicking through the gears as they went. And like Laura Langman was the one kind of pushing it into the gears, as the game went on. So that, I mean, they're my pick. And so I'm really interested to see how their year unfolds. I think I was really, really disappointed. I thought the Giants looked like they were getting it together. I think they have such a talented team and really have the cattle to win it. But especially with Brandley, because that's been the big question, right? They've been one elite defender with no disrespect meant to the players that are there. They've been one elite defender away. So then when they didn't get over the line against the Swifts, who again, without Maddie Turner, they should have beat the Swifts. It's just as simple as that. So I think they were my disappointment from the weekend.
Sarah and Max, would you agree with that, or do you have different points of view?
I wouldn't say I was overly disappointed, but I did pick the same game, but not the Swifts. I thought the Swifts did okay. They did what they needed to do. But Giants did disappoint me a tiny bit because, like, for the same sort of reasons, I thought that they've got the firepower and they just didn't bring it. Sarah, do you want to give me your disappointment, or?
I don't think I was really disappointed by anyone. I understand what you're saying about the Lightning. They scared me a bit that first half.
What is happening?
Yeah, and I think who I was impressed by was the Firebirds, because I think a lot of people have written them off. I said they're going to do nothing, and I think they're probably the team that will stop other teams making top four. I don't think they'll be up there, but I think they'll be the one that someone will slip up against and drop positions because of. So I think they're definitely one to kind of keep an eye on and will keep teams honest. The other thing, God, I'm on a right whinge today, but the other thing I didn't particularly like is the rolling subs, because you literally go down one end of the court and then the next time you're down there's 3 different players, and it's like, who's actually playing? I don't know who's, like, some teams use them loads, some teams didn't use them at all. It's just hard to keep up, and it must be annoying as players if you're a goalkeeper and you have 3 different goal defences in front of you in one quarter. Like, it was irritating watching.
Yeah. Isn't that where you kind of think as a coach that you hope that you have the connectivity between all your players? I mean, I don't think they've been together long enough to be able to get those sort of connections. But isn't that what they're saying, that you should be able to roll on and off, use your bench completely, people?
It's 15 minutes. What can't someone do for 15 minutes? Like,
what do you mean? What we've always done before? They just get on with it.
That's what I mean. And I don't know. Is it like they've changed their goal attack, so I'm going to change my goal defense? I don't know what the thinking behind it is sometimes, but I just found the game's disjointed because of the different rule changes. I found it difficult to watch because it never really built up to anything.
I found the first game felt like a trial or a practice, right? Oh yeah, you just duck into there and then you come off. That's what it sort of felt like. But Yeah. But then I actually felt as the weekend went on, I actually quite liked it. I liked seeing different players in different positions, but I really think Channel 9 just needs, someone else suggested this, just a little ticker along the bottom of the broadcast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether they do it in
Date.
Premier League. Yeah, and there's not so many that it would be a constant stream, right? It's really simple to just have WA, even if it's just the last name or the initial on and off. And if you're particularly interested or you see something happen, you can kind of look and see, because obviously on the broadcast they've made a point to not call it, right? That you could tell watching it that was a very deliberate decision by them. But as the game went on, I actually quite enjoyed it. But I think probably in about 3 or 4 rounds, I'm really interested, making a note at the moment of how many players are playing how many minutes. So I think that'll be really important, and it'll be interesting to see if what everyone thinks, which is that the teams that rotate the best will fare the best. I mean, even thinking about the Lightning game, Pretorius would have played the whole game. Langman would have played the whole game. I mean, Sherian probably played, so I think that's an interesting aspect to see which one is going to be better off. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be the ones that have that revolving door. But when you're playing one game for 10 minutes and then you're playing another game for 5 minutes, I guess you need a different team.
Yeah, true.
Erin, I'm not sure you're good for Sarah. You're just encouraging her ranting here. Before we let you go, are there any players that have really impressed you, Erin?
Oh, goodness. I mean, Kate Eddy, for me, at the Vixens, would be the one that would have to jump out. How she didn't get best on, I will never understand. She only had, she had 4 intercepts. She had game-high intercepts. So first game for the Vixens, she's come from a different club. She's moved states. She walked into had to put Renee Ingles' shoes on in the change room and just played nearly a flawless game at wing defence. Really, she made very few mistakes at wing defence. And then all of a sudden, Simone McInnes does what she never does and just chucked the bibs in the air and had, when was the last time we saw, Western at wing defence in Super Netball? She went back to goal defence, got a really never got a key intercept in the last quarter, and when I looked at the start of the last quarter, she had 2 contacts for the game. There was shooters on the court that had more contacts. So for me, and she's always been really highly rated by people in Melbourne and in Australia, but she blew me out of the water for sure.
Erin, thank you so much. You have been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for all of your opinions. We've thoroughly enjoyed them, haven't we, girls? Thank you so much.
She can come back.
I'll be even more popular with Netball Australia than I already am.
We'll let you go so that you can calm down before bedtime. Thank you genuinely so much for joining us on Netball Station. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, before we get into our next talking point, I want to tell you about this brilliant app that we've teamed up with called Heya. Heya is a sports team app for your phone that helps your team grow while bringing everyone together in a shared love for sports. You can use the app to easily organise and communicate with everyone on your team. And guess what? It's free to use and trusted by over 750,000 coaches, parents, and players worldwide. There's so much that this app can do, from keeping all your team contact details stored safely to scheduling games and training, getting player availability, messaging everyone, and more. You can even set your teammates challenges by uploading a video explaining the challenge. Players reply with a video showing coaches and teammates what they've got. Very cool, this, especially when we can't pass to each other that easily yet. If you want to check out the app, it's completely free. Just download Heya, spelled Heja, from your app store and let us know what you think. Now then, netball training is slowly but surely cranking back up across the land, from grassroots level all the way up to the England Roses. Talking of the Roses, they returned to training last week with another training camp set for this week. So Mags, what are the biggest challenges for coaches who will still have to follow COVID-19 restrictions and guidelines, do we think?
Cripes. Well, without wanting to go on and bore people, because that's the last thing I want to do, we're still stuck in stage 2. And because
we're having quite a negative day here, aren't we?
We are. I do apologise, listeners and viewers.
What's the pent-up ranting here today?
Oh, it just feels like it's just Groundhog Day, because we're still stuck in stage 2, which means, that it's minimal contact, minimal sharing of equipment. You can still only have 6 people, which is 5 plus a coach. Then add to that, trying to get venues to train. We've gone back, 30 years, much longer, and we're outside training. Hey, that was a bit of a shock to the system. Great whilst the sun was shining, but when that rain were coming down, not so great. And then you've still got to do all the sanitisation of kit, make sure people come in one way, go out another. So what I'm basically saying to you is that most community level or clubs will be thinking about trials and trying to get dates in the diary, which is what we've done. And it's just then how those trials then look. So from our perspective, dates are in the diary for August, hoping and praying that we can move a couple of stages along where we can at least do something where these girls can throw balls to each other. But if it ends up sticking at stage 2, then the plan is still 5-on-1, skills and drills, screen them that way, try and select girls that you want to get into your squads for next season, hoping that by September, October, we can all be together and be indoor with venues. So it's business as it's always been since we've been able to go back a couple of weeks. Still sanitising, still small groups, still working out how people come in and out, and minimal sharing of kit. It can be done, but it's just a lot of planning.
Yeah, it's just a lot more difficult, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, Emma. And can I just also throw into that? We're stuck in lockdown in Kirklees where I live.
Oh, yeah.
So, so even though we've got these plans and we've got dates and everything set up ready to rock and roll, because of the recent surge in numbers, we're going to struggle to even maybe get the girls together to do the basics that we want to do.
And do you know what? This is big picture stuff. So we're talking about this on a very broad basis, aren't we, here? Because this is affecting a lot of people. But actually, Sarah, when you start unpicking it, right? And when we are getting back to training and stuff, not everyone's coming back in the same mental and physical condition. So how are coaches going to tailor training, or how are they going to deal with that?
It's hard, like for Lightning, we're probably going to go back in the next few weeks of just offering something to our girls, training wise, but partly for mental health reasons, partly for physical reasons, but it's also optional. If they want to come back and train, they can come back and train. If they don't want to, they don't have to. And I think that's going to be the way for a lot of teams and a lot of clubs for a while. And also, a recognition that people have coped with lockdown in different ways and in to various degrees of success, and are in different shapes physically and mentally. So our Super League pre-season will be a long one, if possible, to allow for that and to allow for adaptations. And also, there's just a recognition that we kind of need to be kind to ourselves a little bit. We're used to running around at 1,000,000 miles an hour and demanding things from people and wanting to be the best at this and to get better at that. And actually coming back, we probably just need to go, let's just enjoy it for a little bit and do what we want to do and have some fun. And then as we find our feet, we can start getting that competitive edge back and just chill out a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of it, I guess, is kind of stripping it right back to basics, really, and to the
it is going back to basics, and it's also going back to why you want to play netball. Like people do want to get back to the sport, and it's to see their friends, it's to feel good about themselves. People know competition isn't starting anytime soon, I don't think. But being able to get back training and have that social element to it is important to people as well.
And do you think with England back in training, do you think that's a bit of a boost for the sport itself?
I think it shows that, that maybe at the top level of netball, we're slowly but surely managing to sort of come through. And there's a glimmer of hope. And I think we all know fingers crossed that this second wave doesn't come with any sort of force, that it will eventually come to an end. But it's nice to know that the national team have found a way of coming together and doing something. Quite what the camp looks like for them at the moment, I'm not sure. But for all the points that Sarah's raised, you know, even those girls within that environment, I'm sure will have different views and attitudes to what they're doing, and there will be kid clubs maybe used with some of them. For me, it's always difficult because as a coach, when you get your hands on your players, you kind of feel as though that, you know, you've got to do this and you've got to do that and you've got to work them hard, because if they don't go away sweating, you know, have they had a good session? Have I not given them everything that they want? But valid points made by Sarah that you can't cane them. It's not pre-season because you don't know when the season's going to start, and it's just being flexible and tailoring what you're delivering to them to the needs of the girls, and slow down. The ones of us who have had the benefit of some input from sports scientists probably understand it a little bit better than those who haven't. And that's my fear, that you'll get some coaches who don't truly understand it, and they will be absolutely going for it hell for leather because they've had this long break and feel that now they've got access to the girls. It's like, let's just get on with it pre-season. Pre-season for them could be 4 or 5 months. Well, that's just too long, and it's not pre-season.
Yeah, so if you're a player listening to this, just remember, take note from the words of the wise. Calm it all down, ease yourself back into it, and look after yourself. Yeah. Do you think then that we could see international netball before the end of the year, with them being back in training?
Yeah, I think we will. I think they've got a test series planned against Jamaica for November, December time. I don't think that'll have a crowd, but it should be on TV, and I think that'll be a big boost for the sport, and a big boost generally for women's sport to get some exposure and to get on TV and hopefully have a high quality series.
Absolutely. It's exciting. Now then, we have finally made it to the final section of the show. Don't know if Sarah's going to rant here, but we've heard plenty of that so far. A lot of pent-up frustration. Now, when we popped off for our little summer break, things were really hotting up in New Zealand's ANZ, with unbeaten Pulse battling away anything that came in front of them. But the other sides were producing some incredible performances to show that run could soon come to an end. We left things at round 5, so let's run through those games first before we have a chat about round 6, 7 and 8. There was another draw, this time between Tactics and Magic, and it was exactly the same score, 46-46. Spooky that, isn't it? But how did the other games end up? So, as it stands, right, pre our little summer break that we had, it's 9-6 to Sarah. Right?
I was hoping we'd just forgotten about this because I had a stinker this round.
Yes, you did. Let's go through this.
I was hoping we'd just moved on.
Oh, we come to me. It's fine.
We've got to give Mag something. She's been outdone by for the last few podcasts. Right, so Pulse v Steel. Mags, you said Pulse. Sarah, you said Pulse, and you were both correct. It was Pulse 40, 37 Steel. Steel Stars. Now then, Mags, you said Stars, and Sarah said Steel. It was Steel 39, Stars 48. You happy with that, Max?
I absolutely am.
Stars v Magic. Now, you both said Stars on that one, and you both got it right. It was Stars 45, Magic 43. Tactics v Mystics. Mags, you went for Tactics. Sarah, you went for Mystics. And Mags, you were right. It was Tactics 41, Mystics 40. Just.
They were close, though, wasn't it?
Of course, with that draw, Tactics 46, Magic 46. Mags, you went for Tactics. Sarah, you went for Magic, but you both get a point for that one. Now, I'm not going to try and do the maths on that.
Somebody will do it.
Pardon?
Somebody will do it. Like with all these people. I'll get my person to do that math.
Statistician that we've got that we employ.
I'll just open the calculator after we finish the podcast. But basically, I'm going to go with Mags. You're getting very, very close. It's getting very close between you and Sarah now, which is impressive because at one point you were on like three points or something.
Yeah. I hadn't turned up at all.
Now, round 6 saw an agonising 1-goal loss for Magic, while in round 7, Tactics and Mystics were looking stronger by the minute. But round 8 was the biggie as Magic beat Steel, and it was Mystics who finally broke Pulse's unbeaten record, winning 44-42. What about that then, girls?
It was amazing.
It was a good game. Mystics left it late. They were like 5 down at 3/4 time, I think, and then they came good in the last quarter. But I am a Pulse fan, so I am biased, but I think it's probably the best thing that could have happened to Pulse, because now they've got that monkey off the back. It's hard trying to go through a season unbeaten, and I think they'll just come back better now. They'll have less pressure on them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It won't do them any harm. They stood at the top of the table. They were 10 from, they're 10 from 10, 9 from 9, whatever it was. Yeah. So it doesn't affect their standing in the table. They're still top. And it just proves that even the best teams have a bad day. Or was it just a case of the team?
Well, fair play to Mystics. They did really well. They played really well, and it was nice to see them get that win, because now it still makes it really interesting for second place.
2 and 3,
Mystics, and then I think they play this weekend, so that's going to be a huge game.
Yeah. Question for you. Sorry, Emma. Question for you. So watching that game, I mean, I think I've got a bit of a girl crush on Heya. I just think she's just absolutely phenomenal. I just love everything about her and how she plays, and the fact that she doesn't fit within the conventional look of a wing attack. But my God, that girl has got these amazing hands and vision and ball placement. So she's on a warning in the first quarter. And it's that decision as a coach. What do you do? Because you can't take the fire out of her completely, because then that just stops her game. But it's that same sort of decision as we had, in the Dragons game, when we managed to play a game and, you've got your goalkeeper who's on a warning and then eventually gets sent off. So I think it showed extreme guts to leave her on, because she's the one that does the job with Nweke. What would you have done, Sarah?
Well, I think the interesting thing was she was poor first quarter, and then she got a caution, she got a warning, and it showed a huge amount of character for her to play like she did for the rest of the game, because she came out, she fixed up, she sorted out, what was going wrong, and she didn't get sent off, which is fantastic. I think the only difference between those two scenarios is Heya as a wing attack. So, worst case scenario, you just go, well, God's sake, just stop defending almost. Don't stop defending, but just stop contesting anything.
Ease back.
Anything 50-50, ease back, just go arms over, track the runs, don't get yourself into any trouble. It's more difficult when it's a goalkeeper or a goal defence. You've got to go out and contest stuff. When they're on a warning, it's like, that's proper squeaky bum time, because they're likely to hit someone at some point in the next 3 quarters. And if they're already in the umpire's bad books, chances are they're gonna send them off. So it was a big decision to keep her out there, but I think it's probably...
Well, it was the right one.
Well, it was the right one. I think it's a testament to how much they trust her, and how good a player she is, and how strong mentally she is to come back from a ropey first quarter to play magnificently for the rest of the game.
Absolutely. Good on her. Right then, guys. Round 9 predictions. Let's see if Max can overtake you, Sarah. So, Steel v Mystics. Max?
I'm gonna go Mystics.
Ooh, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm going to go Mystics, because they have to win it now. Like, they have to win that game now to still be in running for top 2. So yeah,
so they've got something to play for. So you both go Mystics there. Steel v Pulse. Max?
I'm going Pulse because of the effects of the game that they had last week. I think they'll step up big.
Got a feeling you're going to agree with Max there.
I am going to agree, because I don't think I'd like to be a Pulse player in training this week. I imagine they're going to get a rocket.
Yvette will have them.
Mystics v Tactics.
Now, this is the biggie. This is the game of the round, really. It's 2 versus 3. And it's a close one to call. And I think it's going to be close. It might even end up a draw. But I'm going to go Tactics.
Ooh, Sarah?
It is the game of the round, because it'll probably decide who finishes in second place. I'm gonna go Mystics, just because I've backed them this year, and I've said previously they've been a bit flaky when it comes to it. So I'm just hoping that this year is the year that they come through.
Okay, so Sarah's going Mystics. Magic v Stars. Max?
My girl Maya Wilson, I just magical watching her. I think I'd just like to sort of like just have loads of money, win the lottery and bring her over to England. So as a consequence of that, and because she has been a shooter on form all the way through it, give the ball to her, you know it's good night. Even though Magic have been pushing and pushing and pushing teams to the max and nearly getting over the line, but never making it, I'm going Stars.
Ooh, Sarah?
I'm going to go Magic, actually, just because, like Mag said, I think they've been there or thereabouts for a few weeks and been pushing teams hard. And at some point, they're going to get a win. And I think neither team have really got much to play for. So I think it might be this week they do it.
And finally, Pulse v Tactics, Mags?
It's Pulse again. They are not going to have a bad day.
Sarah, do you agree?
I think Pulse will win it. I think it'll be tight, though. But yeah.
Well, there we have it, your round 9 predictions. So we'll revisit this and see if you have managed to leapfrog Sarah next week, Mags. Before we wrap the show up, have either of you got any shout-outs?
Oh, God.
I've just got one, and it's to all the under-21s who play internationally who have had their competition cancelled. It's huge. Anything in your life that gets cancelled is huge, but this particular tournament was billed to be something special, and the fact that they've cancelled it, and I think is the plans maybe to do it the year after, and I know there's discussion about making sure that the girls who would be too old in a year's time still be considered and let the same ones play through. But huge congratulations for them, making it to the teams, but commiserations for it being cancelled. There'll be more. Stick with it, girls. Keep working hard. Thinking of you all.
Stick with it indeed. And lots of Netball Nation love to you all. Sarah, this is like the most highly pressured moment of the podcast for you when we ask you to give a shout out.
It is. This is where I crumble. No, probably just to all the netball teams starting to go back or, dipping their toe into training again and actually just getting to see each other for the first time for some people. So, just keep going with the outdoor sessions, stick with it and enjoy seeing your mates for the first time in a while.
Yeah, have a good time. And Mags, did I hear you say earlier that it was your birthday this week?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Well, there's a huge shout out to Mags, who's 21 tomorrow. Happy birthday tomorrow, Mags.
God, I'd like to see 41 and 51 again. Anyway, moving on.
Happy birthday, Mags.
Thank you.
If you bake a cake, we'd gladly come round and pick some up. So,
bless
I'm going to make a birthday cake.
Please, we're in quarantine. You can't.
Yeah, you can leave at the end of the drive, can't you?
Okay, then. Okay.
And shout happy birthday through the window.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, guys. Mags, have a lovely birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
That is it for another show. As always, if there's anything you want us to cover in future episodes, get in touch via social media or email us hello@mynetballnation.com. Don't forget, we're giving you the chance to win a pair of ASICS brand new netball trainers for you and a pair for a friend. With 8 pairs to give away of 4 shoes available now at Netball UK. The ASICS Professional FF2, ASICS Super FF, ASICS Academy A and ASICS Professional 2GS. To enter, go to our website and click on the banner on the homepage and you'll be back to court ready with Netball UK and ASICS. See you next week, girls.
Bye.
Bye.
This is Netball Nation.